Madam Clerk, please dispense with the journal.
By Councilmember Gray, that the reading of the minutes of the last meeting be dispensed with the journal approved, seconded by Councilmember Griffin.
Thank you very much. At this point, we will move to our public comment section. If there is an Antoine Tolbert in the House, please.
Peace, 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 family. Okay. How y'all doing today? Okay, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Peace, family. How y'all doing today? Good. Peace, Councilman Bashir. Peace and love, brother. Start y'all off. My name is Antoine Tolbert. I'm the president of New Era Cleveland. I'm here today to speak about accountability. This generation has learned from those that have come before us that tried to teach us on behalf of us to get resources, opportunity, equity, and justice. It won't be because the governing powers wanted to be. It won't be because the governing powers want it to be. It'll be because we organized and forced our public servants, our elected officials, to speak on our needs. Sitting in these seats and making decisions for thousands of people and future generations is a high honor. An honor that most of you have historically fallen extremely short term after term. We the people are taking back our power with initiatives like Issue 24, electing a new mayor, electing new council members, and next up is participatory budgeting. We want the power to shape and mold our own communities so that we can carve out a path for our babies, because this leadership has proven itself to be morally incapable of putting the needs of the people before the bank account of elected officials. Thank you. All power to the people.
Thank you. Shakira Johnson, please. Welcome.
Hello. My name is Shakira Johnson, and I am here today to share not a concern, but an appreciation for an organization that has been a fantastic partner and friends to the kids of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Ohio. A former letter of support has already been submitted by our CEO, Jeff Scott, and I sincerely echo the comments that have been shared. As a former board member, an engaged community member, and now Chief Revenue Officer of this region's top youth-serving organization and one of the top 10 Boys and Girls Club organizations in the country, I also urge you to approve the plan to extend the life of Progressive Field and continue allowing the Cleveland Guardians to chart a philanthropic, community-based course that has positively impacted thousands of youth throughout our region. For the past 2 decades, Northeast Ohio's kids have benefited greatly from the partnership, and I, without hesitation, this team has been one of Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Ohio's best partners. Just to highlight a few points from our letter of support, over the past 20 years, Cleveland Indians Charities has donated more than $3.1 million to our clubs, funding academic success programs, our annual Youth of the Year scholarships, as well as providing support for special events, including our Race for Kids. Whether it was monetary support during the pandemic to help us alter our after-school model to digital club smart learning centers so kids could learn virtually, or partnering with us to execute a successful pilot for our career readiness program, or leveraging their network to renovate our Broadway Club ball field, or helping us to secure safety netting. Honestly, this list could go on and on. We are truly appreciative for their support. In the nonprofit space, it makes my day when I have the opportunity to work with partners that are genuine and flexible. And I have to say, the Cleveland Indians are here to really be a collaborative partner, and they have not been around just to check a box. I strongly urge you again to approve the plan to improve and extend the life of Progressive Field and enable the team to continue making the kinds of smart, strategic, and under-the-radar decisions that are helping our clubs thrive, kids thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wendell Fields, please. Excuse me.
Good evening. My name is Wendell Fields. I was going to go through this whole elaborate speech about baseball and everything, but when I think about how I grew up, I run the youth program B-Buzz Baseball League out of Lee Harvard area. And that league meant so much to us. As I look around the board and your council, I also see fellow people that grew up with me, fellow alumni of our league. This league has produced quite a number of successful citizens, and that's our goal. Not only do we teach baseball, but we also want to teach kids life lessons, all the things that baseball taught us. We talk about discipline, sportsmanship, teamwork, fundamentals, being able to think on your feet. All that comes from baseball, and when I look at my life, I look at those things, I get it all from my parents and baseball. Last year, we were lucky enough to be sponsored by the Cleveland Indians, Cleveland Guardians, I should say. And it really changed the dynamic of our program. We were able to reach over 122 kids this year. Next year, we hope to do about 250 kids. We want to continue this partnership with the Indians and also with Major League Baseball and continue to give the kids something that we had when we were growing up. Some of you played Little League Baseball when you grew up, and you know the feelings you got, you know the relationships you formed, and all that came from baseball. And with the help of the Indians, we can continue to go and grow and continue to help our kids in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Torres, please.
Hi, I'm Laurie Torres, the owner of a 25-year-old legacy restaurant in downtown Cleveland's Warehouse District. In the 25 years since Mallorca has been open, we've seen many, many changes in the city. With each change in administration, there's change in priorities and change in plans. But the one thing that has never changed is the Cleveland Indians' steadfast commitment to the city of Cleveland. As an owner of an independent restaurant and the president of the Cleveland Independent Restaurants, an organization that speaks on behalf of independent restaurants, I can tell you that COVID was very difficult for our industry. Post-COVID, pre-COVID, COVID was generally difficult for us. We had the shifting sands of regulations, the opens, the closes, and now the staff shortages all created a really difficult situation for us doing business in downtown Cleveland. And when you added to that the loss of the sports fans, it made doing business downtown even more difficult. There's a symbiotic relationship between restaurants and the Indians or any sports team in the sense that when people come down for a game, they don't generally just come down to the game, but they come to lunch before or dinner after. As a matter of fact, 1.7 million people come down every year for the game. And those people spend money in hotels, in restaurants, in the downtown businesses. And that money creates jobs in those businesses. And those businesses often have people who live downtown. And those people, when they live downtown, take that income that they get from the suburbs and for the people coming downtown, and they spend that money downtown, and that in turn supports the city in the form of taxation. It is my understanding that the renovations will not cause additional taxes, and I feel like we should really support our guardians as guardians in a house that looks like a house for guardians, that is in tune with other cities' stadiums. Although there are no cities like Cleveland, when we compare other cities, our stadium should look aesthetically and functionally as good as their stadiums do. So as the people that own the stadium, the citizens that own the stadium, I steadfastly support the renovations for the stadium, and hope that you will too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Todd Burns, please.
Good evening, Council. Thank you. I'm also here to speak on behalf of the Indians. So my name is Todd Burns, and I am the General Manager of the Hyatt Regency Cleveland Hotel. And I come to you as both a business person and a resident of the city of Cleveland and its third ward. As a business person, I represent a little over 125 employees at the hotel. And I think I can speak for all the downtown hotels when I say that the business that Major League Baseball has brought to us is irreplaceable. You know, for the Hyatt, the Guardians themselves are our #1 volume account. As a partner of the team, we basically house them for all the players that come to town that don't have residences within the city. In addition to that, the 81 home games provide a huge amount of work for our colleagues. As was mentioned a moment ago, baseball brings 1.7 million visitors to downtown Cleveland. And in 2020, even during the pandemic, there were more than 4,000 hotel workers that serve visitors throughout Cuyahoga County. At the Hyatt alone, 86% of us make up our homes in the county and 61% of us in the city. The Guardians have been a great partner over the years that we just cannot replace. And even during the rock bottom of the pandemic, when fans were not allowed in the stands and our business was an all-time low, they produced. When most of our partners stopped traveling, they actually brought a modified spring training to the city of Cleveland outside of Arizona. And that was the first part of our recovery, bringing back housekeepers from layoff, from furlough, and opening our restaurants. Had that not happened, I think it would have been at least another 10 months before the NFL draft before we started to see the business to bring those folks back. So now as we enter the next phase of our recovery, having sports fans in downtown Cleveland is the key for the hospitality industry. Most hotel experts will tell you that it will be 2024 before business levels return to 2019, and we need to have those fans coming back to get us back where we need to be. As was mentioned earlier, the work will not result in any new or increased taxes, and the work means the ballpark, which is owned by the public, will boost the city's economy for years to come and help to support our business and employees. So on behalf of the 125 employees at the Hyatt, I ask that you please consider the renovation of the Progressive Field. Thank you.
Thank you. Hannah Belcito, please.
I need to lower the mic. Thank you. Good evening, Council President and members of Council. I'm Hannah Belcito, Chief Experience Officer for Destination Cleveland, and I'm here to express our organization's support of the plan to improve and extend the life of Progressive Field, with the proposed funding involving no new or increased taxes for residents. Destination Cleveland serves to attract visitors to Cleveland. Research commissioned from Longwoods International shows that attending a professional sports event is in the top 10 activities that day and overnight visitors choose to experience while in Cleveland. Prior to the pandemic, travel and tourism in Cleveland was growing at a record rate for 9 consecutive years, greater than the U.S. average. As you've heard tonight, the global pandemic decimated the industry, and I'm sure you're all seeing this in your neighborhoods. We experienced a 30% loss in visitor volume in 2020. Despite this temporary setback, we're poised to rebuild the industry to exceed pre-pandemic success. Doing so will require a combination of steadfast support of our industry and offering a desirable experience for locals and visitors. Progressive Field has been and will continue to be a driver of downtown service business recovery. It's imperative that the experience at Progressive Field is world-class. The field is 27 years old, the oldest Major League Baseball ballparks, therefore upkeep and renovations are essential. Hosting 81 home games per year supports thousands of jobs, including 60,000 jobs in travel and tourism. An additional benefit is hotel occupancy and the affiliated bed and sales tax revenue. A strong illustration can be found with the team's 2016 playoff run that resulted in a World Series appearance. On the 6 nights games were hosted at Progressive Field, downtown hotel occupancy averaged 95%. On those same nights, 1 year prior, occupancy averaged 74%. Over those same nights 1 year later, occupancy averaged 70%. Such high hotel occupancy rate because of the games at Progressive Field increased the average nightly room rate in downtown and suburban municipalities, resulting in increased bed and sales tax revenue for our community. Finally, I'd like to underscore the importance of public-private partnerships. In just the last 5 years, collaboration has illustrated that when we work together, we can shine a bright light on Cleveland. The RNC, the MLB All-Star Games, the NFL Draft, and soon the NBA All-Star Games are all examples of the success we can achieve when we work together toward a mutually beneficial goal. On behalf of Destination Cleveland, I urge you to approve the investment in this project. Doing so is also an investment in Cleveland's travel and tourism recovery. Thank you for your collaboration.
Thank you. Andrew Udis, please. Andrew Udis, please. Udis, sorry about that.
Mr. President, members of council, I'm happy to say, my name is Andy Udris, and I'm happy to say that this is the first time I've been back to these chambers after 35 years. I used to sit in that chair over there as Economic Development Director for the City of Cleveland under George Voinovich. And one of my projects was the assistance to redevelop the new stadium at Progressive Field that we have today. Back then it was called Jacobs Field. But I simply wanted to advise people that as now I came back home and I'm president of Hoffer House Cleveland. We have over 100 employees in our business. We are a small, locally owned business. However, only 50 of our employees are able to come back right now because of the COVID environment. We need your investment in additional assets here in Cleveland in order to allow us to be able to hire back those 50 additional employees. Most of the restaurants in Playhouse Square have closed because of the theaters were closed. Having the stadiums reopen, having the theaters reopen is now putting us back in a place where we can hire local residents and be able to put them back to work. So I strongly urge you to vote in favor of the funding necessary to keep the stadium in top shape and be a competitive location for economic development in the city of Cleveland. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Sean Watterson, please.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council. Especially thank you for making this comment period a real thing. And as a resident of, well, actually a business in Councilwoman Spencer's ward, I particularly appreciate her support for that. I'm here to speak on behalf of American Rescue Plan Act funding for the arts. The arts were among the hardest hit. We've been hearing about the Guardians. Arts were equally hit. And I represent not just the Happy Dog, which I co-own, but the Cleveland Music Club Coalition. We are music clubs that are anchors in neighborhoods across the city. Happy Dog in Gordon Square, the Beachland Ballroom in the Waterloo Arts District, Brothers Lounge, and now that's Class in Edgewater, the Agora in Midtown. We employ hundreds of people directly and thousands of musicians who perform on our stages. I know my story personally, we were closed for over a year due to COVID. We couldn't pivot because we couldn't present live music. Our whole reason for existence was gathering people together. We were able to reopen over the summer. That was great. When Delta hit, we've seen another hit. We're running 30% below normal, and that's across the board if you talk to any of the clubs across the city, across the county, and across the country. I also know the value of assistance. We were fortunate in getting some County CARES Act assistance, and we lobbied for federal assistance. Without that, we would have closed. Not just us, all of the music clubs in Cleveland would have closed. So we truly know the value of that assistance. I would ask that when you look at arts funding with American Rescue Plan dollars, you look to fund the creative workforce directly. I hope that at least half the money that gets approved goes directly to the creative workforce, not just the individual artists, but the people who work in these venues and museums, the security guards, the ticket takers, the back of house staff, all of the people who make our experiences a great thing. And with the dollars that are left for the nonprofits and for the small businesses that support the arts, that are arts-based nonprofits and small businesses, I would say prioritize the ones who fell through the cracks, put them first, put those of us who were able to get assistance back towards the back of the line. I think that this is something that is key to the destination experience for people coming to Cleveland. I'm happy to be a part of the Guardians. We have a happy dog at the stadium, but I would love for the arts to be as big a driver. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Watterson. Fred Bidwell, please. Is Mr. Bidwell with us? Going once. Thank you. At this point, we'll resume the legislative budget. Madam Clerk, if you could please read communications.
From the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, file number 1044, 2021, regarding a transfer of ownership application at 12702 Lorraine Avenue, Ward 16. File number 1045, 2021, regarding a new license application at 3984 Lee Road, Ward 1. File number 1046, 2021, regarding a stock application at 6200 Riverside Drive, Ward 17. File number 1047, 2021, regarding a transfer of ownership application at 1231 Main Avenue, Ward 3. File number 1048, 2021, regarding a transfer of location application at 1300 East 9th Street, Ward 3. File number 1049, 2021, regarding a new license application at 9306 Huff Avenue, Ward 7. File number 1050, 2021, regarding a transfer of ownership application at 11001 Euclid Avenue, Ward 9. File number 1051, 2021, regarding a transfer of ownership application at 5605 Detroit Avenue, Ward 15.
Thank you. Condolence resolutions.
Resolutions of condolence by Councilmember Bishop for Clara J. Sample, by Councilmember Brancatelli for Thomas P. McLeary, by Councilmember Griffin for Evelyn Marie Bush, by Councilmember Joe Jones for Grace Tufts.
Thank you. Are there any other condolences? Councilman Bashir Jones.
Yes, please hold on number 4, Alicia Pointer.
Thank you.
So noted.
Are there any other condolences? Will council members please?
There's one more.
I'm sorry? Councilman Joe Jones?
I'd like you hold out one for Mr. Houston.
What's the first name?
George Houston.
George Houston. Thank you.
So noted.
Any other condolences? If council members will please rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Congratulatory resolutions.
Resolutions of congratulations by Councilmember Hairston for Nottingham United Methodist Church. Resolutions of recognition by Councilmember Griffin for illustrious Commandress Lucille Sherrill. By Councilmember Griffin for illustrious potentate noble Earl Baumgardner. Resolutions of welcome by Councilmember Joe Jones for Dr. Anthony E. Sharp.
Thank you. First reading emergency ordinances to be referred for administrative and committee review.
Ordinance 1052, 2021, by Councilmembers McCormack, Bishop, Brancatelli, and Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing the mayor and commissioner purchases and supplies to accept transfer of property from the Ohio Department of Transportation, which is part of the limited access right-of-way adjacent to Interstate 90 at West 14th near Fairfield Avenue, authorizing the mayor and commissioner purchases and supplies to sell the ODOT property and other city-owned property to 2260 West 14th Street or its designee, which are not needed for the city's public use for Phase 2 of the Tremont Oaks apartment project, and to remit payment to ODOT. Ordinance 1053, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly, by departmental request, to amend Section 2 of Ordinance 435, 2021, relating to employing professional services to develop, administer, and grade promotional examinations for the Division of Fire, Department of Public Safety. Ordinance 1054, 2021, by Council Members Slife, Brancatelli, and Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing Director of Economic Development to amend NDIF contract with Emerald Research Park Limited to waive payment by Emerald to the city upon the sale of property within Emerald Park. Ordinance 1055, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing Director of Finance on behalf of Cleveland Municipal Court to apply for and accept a grant from Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County for the 2021-22 Specialized Dockets Program, and authorizing the Director to enter into one or more contracts with various agencies, entities, or individuals to implement the grant. Ordinance 1057, 2021, by Councilmembers Gray, Brancatelli, and Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing the mayor and commissioner of purchases and supplies to acquire and reconvey properties presently owned by Reserve Premier or its designee, located at 55th Street and Sweeney Avenue, for the purpose of entering into the chain of title prior to the adoption of tax increment financing legislation under Section 570941 of the Revised Code for the Reserve Premier Development Project. Ordinance 1058, 2021. Ordinance 1056, 2021, by Council Members Brancatelli and Kelly, by departmental request, approving the Tax Incentive Review Council's Year 2020 recommendations. Ordinance 1058, 2021, by Council Members Gray, Bishop, Brancatelli, and Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Works to enter into any and all interagency agreements, leases, permits, cooperative agreements, and joint use agreements with the Ohio Department of Transportation for other public agencies needed for site control, use, operation, repair, and maintenance of the Downtown Connector Trail already completed by ODOT, and or as segments of this multi-purpose trail are completed by ODOT and other public agencies for a period up to 25 years per agreement. Ordinance 1059, 2021, by Council Members Bashir Jones, Hairston, Santana, Spencer, Bishop, Brancatelli, and Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing Directors of Public Works and Community Development to enter into a property exchange agreement with the Board of Education of Cleveland Metro School District for the transfer of various properties between the parties to facilitate the efficient use of real estate for public purpose, including constructing new parks, assembling land, improving existing school campuses, and disposing of underutilized or unneeded real estate, authorizing the mayor and the commissioner of purchases and supplies to acquire and convey the properties, and authorizing the conveyance of one of the properties received from the school district to Kenmore Commons Limited Partnership or its designee for future development. Ordinance 1060, 2021, by Council Members Casey and Kelly, by departmental request, determining the method of making the public improvement of rehabilitating and replacing overhead cranes at various facilities within the Division of Water, and authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement. Ordinance 1061, 2021, by Council Members Casey and Kelly, by departmental request, determining the method of making the public improvement of repairing, renewing, and/or replacing transmission water mains, valves, and appurtenances as part of the Transmission Water Main Renewal Program from 2022 through 2026, and authorizing Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement. Ordinance 1062, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing Director of Finance to employ one or more professional consultants to implement various citywide employee safety programs and other related services, and to enter into various written standard purchase and requirement contracts needed in connection with the programs for the various divisions of city government for a period of 2 years with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Finance. Ordinance 1063, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into various written standard purchase and requirement contracts of building construction materials, equipment, supplies, and service for the various divisions of city government for a period up to 2 years, with one option to renew for an additional year, exercisable by the Director of Finance. Ordinance 1064, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing Director of Finance to enter into various written standard purchase and requirement contracts for the purchase of industrial paper products, cleaning and janitorial maintenance equipment, materials and supplies, and moving services for the various divisions of city government for a period of 2 years, with one option to renew for an additional year, exercisable by the Director of Finance. Ordinance 1065, 2021, by Councilmembers Casey and Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of hauling and disposing of residuals from the Crown Waterworks plant and in emergencies other water treatment plants, authorizing Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with Polydyne, Inc. for polymer chemicals needed for dewatering Crown's residuals for the Division of Water, Department of Public Utilities, for a term up to 2 years. Ordinance 1066, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of office supplies, furniture, equipment, and related items, including installation and training for the various divisions of city government for a period up to 2 years, with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Finance. Ordinance 1067, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of labor and materials needed to inspect, test, maintain, replace, repair, and/or upgrade overhead doors, elevators, escalators, and speed walks for the various divisions of city government for a period of 1 year, with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Finance. Ordinance 1068, 2021, by Councilmembers Joe Jones, Bishop, Brancatelli, and Kelly, by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Works to execute a deed of easement, granting to the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District certain easement rights in a portion of the city-owned property located in Carouge Park, and declaring the easement rights no longer needed for the city's use. Ordinance 1070, 2021, by Councilmembers Gray, Brancatelli, and Kelly, by departmental request, approving the addition of certain property to the Northeast Ohio Advanced Energy District, accepting and approving a petition and plan from a property owner in the district, identifying a special energy improvement project, declaring it necessary to conduct the special energy improvement project, providing for assessment of the cost of such special energy improvement project, and authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into an energy project cooperative agreement and a special assessment agreement to implement the project, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 1071, 2021, by Councilmembers Griffin, Brancatelli, and Kelly, by departmental request, approving the addition of certain property to the Northeast Ohio Advanced Energy District, accepting and approving a petition and plan from the property owner in the district, identifying a special energy improvement project, declaring it necessary to conduct the special energy improvement project, providing for the assessment of the cost of such special energy improvement project, and authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into an energy project cooperative agreement and a special assessment agreement to implement the project, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 1072, 2021, by Councilmembers Bishop and Kelly, by departmental request, to amend Section 1 of Ordinance 547, 2021, relating to the purchase, lease, or lease with option to purchase of various on-road vehicles, apparatus, and off-road equipment, cabs, bodies, and accessories, equipment, and other aftermarket items necessary to equip the vehicles for the various divisions of city government. Ordinance 1073, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly by departmental request to amend sections 4, 8, 16, 25, 30, 31, 32, 35, 39, 45, and 48 of Ordinance 194, 2021 relating to compensation for various classifications. Ordinance 1074, 2021 by Councilmembers Conwell, Brancatelli, and Kelly by departmental request, directing a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to the city's COVID-19 response by authorizing the Director of Community Development to enter into one or more grant agreements with Hitchcock Center for Women to support the construction of a new residential treatment facility at 1227 Ansel Road to be encumbered during the period beginning March 3, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2024. Ordinance 1075, 2021 by Councilmembers McCormack and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Health to enter into one or more contracts with the Merrick House to provide Moms First services to women at risk of poor birth outcomes on the west side of Cleveland for a period of 1 year. Ordinance 1076, 2021 by Councilmembers McCormack and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Health to enter into contract with the Ohio Department of Health to perform investigations of violations regarding smoking in workplaces and other public places. Ordinance 1077, 2021 by Councilmember Polensek, designating the Slovenian Workman's Home as a Cleveland landmark. Ordinance 1078, 2021 by Councilmembers Casey and Kelly by departmental request, determining the method of making the public improvement of maintaining and improving the interior and exterior of various buildings and sites, including but not limited to roofs and related buildings and site systems, authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public improvement contracts to construct the improvement, authorizing Director to employ one or more professional consultants necessary to design the improvement, and authorizing Director to apply for and accept any grants, including but not limited to grants from the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for Community Cost Share Program funding for a period of 2 years. Ordinance 1079, 2021 by Councilmembers McCormack and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Health to employ one or more professional consultants to implement Phase 2 activities recommended by the Racism as a Public Health Crisis Coalition. Ordinance 1080, 2021 by Councilmembers Bashir Jones, Bishop, Brancatelli, and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Works to enter into a property adoption agreement with University Circle, Inc. to improve and maintain a portion of Rockefeller Park located immediately north of the Rockefeller Park Lagoon for the Jesse Owens Olympic Tree and Memorial Walk. Ordinance 1081, 2021 by Councilmembers Gray, Brancatelli, and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with 3740 Carnegie LLC or its designee to support the financing and development of Minuteman Staffing Expansion Project, to provide for payments to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and to declare certain improvements to real property to be a public purpose. Ordinance 1082, 2021 by Councilmembers McCormack and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Health to enter into a tri-party agreement with the County of Cuyahoga and Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine for professional services necessary to continue the first-year Cleveland program, and authorizing any agreements needed to continue the program for a period of 1 year with an additional 1-year option to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Health. Ordinance 1083, 2021 by Councilmember Joe Jones, authorizing the Director of Department of Community Development to enter into an agreement with the Famicos Foundation for the Senior Home Repair Program through the use of Ward 1 core city funds.
First reading emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance 1084, 2021, by Councilmember Gardner, authorizing Director of Department of Public Works to enter into an agreement with Camp Journey or its fiscal agent Burton Bell Carr Development, Inc. for the Salam Community Empowerment Farm and Training Center program through the use of Ward 4 casino revenue funds.
Read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Gray, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Griffin.
Please call the roll.
Kelly, Bishop, Brancatelli, Conwell, Gardner, Gray, Griffin, Hairston, Bashir Jones, Joe Jones, Casey, McCormack, Mooney, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer. 16 yeas.
Call the roll on passage.
Kelly, Bishop, Brancatelli, Conwell, Gardner, Gray, Griffin, Hairston, Bashir Jones, Joe Jones, Casey, McCormack, Mooney, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer. 16.
Thank you.
16 yeas.
First reading, emergency resolutions to be adopted.
Resolution 1069, 2021, by Councilmember Santana, objecting to a new C2 liquor permit at 3545 Ridge Road. Resolution 1093, 2021, by Councilmember Casey, objecting to the transfer of ownership of a C1, C2 liquor permit to 12702 Lorraine Avenue.
Read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Gray, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Griffin.
Please call the roll.
Kelly, Bishop, Brancatelli, Conwell, Gardner, Gray, Griffin, Hairston, Bashir Jones, Joe Jones, Casey, McCormack, Mooney, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer. 16 yeas.
Call the roll on adoption.
Kelly, Bishop, Brancatelli, Conwell, Gardner, Gray, Griffin, Hairston, Bashir Jones, Joe Jones, Casey, McCormack, Mooney, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer. 16 yeas.
Thank you. Second reading emergency ordinance.
Ordinance 844, 2021, as amended, by Councilmember Kelly by departmental request, authorizing execution of a cooperative agreement with the County of Cuyahoga, Gateway Economic Development Corporation of Greater Cleveland, and/or Cleveland Indians Baseball Company, LLC, relating to the financing, operations, repair, upkeep, and construction of appropriate modernizations of Progressive Field, and authorizing contribution of city funding.
Second reading emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance 507, 2020, by Council Members Bashir Jones, Brancatelli, and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with Inspiron Group Limited or its designee to provide for the developer to make certain improvements, to provide for payments to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and to declare certain improvements to real property to be a public purpose. Ordinance 768, 2021, by council members McCormack, Brancatelli, and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with Skyline Investments, Inc., and/or its designee to fund eligible project costs and project debt for the Hotel Cleveland project to be located at 24 Public Square, to provide for payments to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and to declare certain improvements to real property to be a public purpose. Ordinance 919, 2021, by Council Members Griffin, Brancatelli, and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with Fairmont Properties, LLC, and/or its designee to provide for the development of a mixed-use project located at East 105th and Cedar, to provide for payments to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and to declare certain improvements to real property to be a public purpose. Ordinance 987, 2021, by Council Members Conwell, Brancatelli, and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Glen Village, LLC, or its designee to provide economic development assistance to partially assist with general operating expenses of the Glen Village Incubator at Glenville Circle North. Ordinance 1025, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly by departmental request, authorizing Director of Finance on behalf of Cleveland Muni Court to enter into one or more contracts with Oriana House, Inc. for professional services necessary to provide appropriate placement for defendants to be assigned into supervised pretrial release without the sanction of incarceration, and to provide related services for the Cleveland Muni Court for a period of 1 year with a 1-year option to renew, exercisable by the Director of Finance. Ordinance 1033, 2021, by Councilmember Kelly by departmental request, directing a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to the city's COVID-19 response by appropriating funds to the Department of Law for professional legal services, contract or contracts to assist the city in matters relating to regulatory compliance and eligible use of funds under the American Rescue Plan Act, to be encumbered during the period beginning March 3rd, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2024.
Read the motion to suspend the rules.
That the rules, by Councilmember Gray, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Griffin.
Please call the roll.
Kelly, Bishop, Brancatelli, Conwell, Gardner, Gray, Griffin, Hairston, Bashir Jones, Joe Jones, Casey, McCormack, Mooney, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer. 16 yeas.
Please call the roll on passage.
Kelly, Bishop, Brancatelli, Conwell, Gardner, Gray, Griffin, Hairston, Bashir Jones, Joe Jones, Casey, McCormack, Mooney, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer. On ordinance numbers 507, 2020 and 768, 2021, 15 yeas, 1 nay. On all others, 16 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. This concludes the legislative portion of our meeting. Are there introductions this evening? Councilman Bashir Jones.
Thank you. I want to introduce Councilwoman-elect of Ward 7, Stephanie House. Where you at, Stephanie? She over there somewhere. There she go. There we go. I also want to introduce someone who's very familiar with this place, Ms. Carolyn Allen. Mrs. Carolyn Allen, her husband, Mr. Robert Allen, back there. Yes. Also, we have Sheila Wright and Angie back there, and Grant, where you at, if you can wave as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Kevin Conwell.
I can't speak on, but I do know how to project myself. Jeremy here is a good friend of mine. He's the director of the arts, and I definitely agree we do have to get some dollars for the arts. And with the guy from Happy Dog, you know, I gigged at your place, both of your places twice. You know, the one on Lorraine, and I gigged over there at University Circle. People who don't know what gig mean, that means playing out. You know, I'm a jazz musician, and it was really cool when I gigged over there. It was really nice, especially the Happy Dog. That was really cool beans, man, gigging over there. And so we also have Craig Brock. He teaches a lot of the youth in the city of Cleveland music, and he's a great musician. He's, although he's not from Glenville, he's from Collinwood, and he teaches over at East Tech. But he really cool beans with the kids, man. He teaches the music. He's good. He's real good, and the kids really sit back and they listen to him. I think you took one of my, oh, Carolyn, yeah, but you already, Bashir already announced you. And if I missed anybody, blame it on my head, not my heart. All right, thank you very much.
Are there any other introductions? Councilwoman Anita Gardner. All right, Councilwoman. Welcome and thank you. Any other introductions? Are there any announcements? Miscellaneous. Councilwoman Jenny Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I wanted to truly thank the citizens who are here this evening. I wanted to acknowledge your presence. We are all honored by having you in the room. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And I wanted to point out, if this is your first time coming to a council meeting, I didn't know what to expect when I first came to a council meeting. That's a lot of reading through legislation, reading through ordinances. It goes pretty fast. I encourage you all to continue to engage with council. One great way to do that is through the committees as well. So thank you for being here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you again. I know we all do.
Councilwoman? If there's no other miscellaneous, Councilman Bashir Jones, or Councilman Joe Jones, did you have miscellaneous?
I guess so.
Okay.
Yield to my colleague. I have a little bit more time.
I'm gonna, yeah.
I'll yield to you. I'm gonna be
Councilman Joe Jones.
I was yielding to my cousin, but he didn't want to take it. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. So often when you are in public life and in public office, there's a lot of moving parts that make up success to being in public office. And I want to take this opportunity to say that I'm going to miss some really good people who have been here for a very long time in the city, who have done some very outstanding work. That first person I've always, when I first came into the council, I said, we are certainly have a jewel, a diamond in the rough. And it was so good to see her coming back after being away for almost 16 years. And that was Sharon Dumas. And she has done an outstanding job for this city in some of the most stressing times. She has worked very diligently to stabilize the market space, and she has historical knowledge and information about the city, how it functions, the significance of making the decisions that we make, and certainly a very good person to go to when you need to get some information, or if you need to make sure that you're on the right side of the situation. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Frank Jackson. And I rise to thank him because our neighborhood has been blessed and fortunate to be able to get a state-of-the-art recreational facility. Not so often communities of the 17 neighborhoods get an opportunity to get a recreational facility built. And I want to take this time because this particular recreational facility was important because of the simple fact that the last time we had one built, Ralph Perk was the mayor of the city of Cleveland at that time, and the year was 1970. So we really appreciate, and on behalf of the citizens, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to say this to him because I know his schedule is busy, and I wanted to kind of coordinate our community being able to come and say to him, thank you. But it seems like it might not work out for us, where we can come and really truly say thank you as a community to the mayor of the city of Cleveland. So I do want to take this opportunity to thank Frank Jackson and his administration for making sure that we have a state-of-the-art recreational facility. And then I was reminded earlier, next to a $42 million John F. Kennedy School by his right-hand man, Valerie McCall. And then lastly, I just want to take the opportunity to say that it is indeed a privilege to have the opportunity to serve on council and to try to met out all the very difficult deals and negotiations, and hopefully at the end of the day, be able to make the right decisions on behalf of this city, and not only in my neighborhood, but all of the citizens of the city of Cleveland. I thank you for having the opportunity, Mr. President, and to my colleagues to speak. God bless you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Bashir Jones has requested additional time, which has been granted, so the floor is yours, Councilman.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I appreciate it. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak on such a very important topic for me. Anytime I start to speak, the first person that I've accomplished, I automatically go back to my mother. And even though my mother and my siblings, we lived in many different shelters in the city of Cleveland, she still instilled a sense of pride in us. And she taught us to stand up for what we believe, even if you have to stand alone. She spoke about the importance of having the courage to be alone, and I miss her dearly, but her teachings still stay with me. But the reality is, just like the feeling that my mother felt, Cleveland continues to be one of the most dangerous and most violent places towards women, especially women of color. My family, Mr. President, we used to be on food stamps. This is before the credit card. This is the food stamps for you. It's the paper, you can't leave it out the book. You get what I'm talking about? Okay, all right. So, back when we used to have these food stamps, my mother, she would go to the store and, well, I ain't gonna tell all her business, but basically, a man snatched her food stamps out of her hand and basically dared her to do something. And I can remember that feeling, even as a little boy, but seeing my mother feel defenseless, feel helpless, that even while this man was doing this to her, no other men stood up for her. No other individual stood up for her. And unfortunately, we live in a city where we can see crime, we can see pain, their pain does not matter. Or look at black mothers who are having their sons and husbands snatched away without any repercussion. And it doesn't just happen in the streets of Cleveland, but it happens in the boardrooms of Cleveland, where brilliant black women have opportunities snatched away and given to below average men every single day. So there's two pieces that I'm asking for my colleagues to support. And the first one is Allen Estates. It's not just about building a building in a specific location. It's about what does the impact of that building, what will it have on the entire city? And what I want for my colleagues to understand is that it's not about the building, it's about who is building the building. It's not about the building, but it's about who is building the building. Let me tell my colleagues about Allen Estates. Allen Estates, Sheila, stand up. Angie, stand up. This frontline development was created by two women of color. Two women of color. And unfortunately, some of the things that we have heard, as they have chosen to name the Allen Estates after Ms. Carolyn Allen, if you can stand up, the first black woman to be safety director here in the city of Cleveland, Ms. Carolyn Allen. Not just building a building, it's about who is building the building. Who is building the building? Why is this important? Well, because we have lived in a city where below average men come to the table every day to get development deals, and no one has anything to say about that.